My daughter's imaginary friend was real, and he left a final note in her handwriting. My daughter told me the stick man in my closet was sad I couldn't see him. She said it so casually, tucked under the warm glow of her bedside lamp, that for a second the words didn't even register. Zora is 7, and her world is a vibrant tapestry of imaginary friends and whispered secrets. I'm her anchor, her only one since her mum left, and our nightly story is the ritual that moors us both. We were reading her favourite, a tattered copy of a book called The Whisperwood, about a little girl who gets lost and is guided home by a shy forest spirit who leaves her messages on fallen leaves. It was my mom's, and the pages smell like vanilla and thyme. He leaves me pictures too, Daddy, Zora said, her eyes wide and serious. Just like the Whisperwood spirit. I just finished the part where the spirit leaves a drawing of the sun on a maple leaf to tell the girl which way is east. Zora was tracing the illustration with her small finger. A cold spiderweb of unease brushed against the back of my neck. What stick man, sweet pea? The one in your closet, she said, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. He's very tall, and his arms are long. He can almost touch the floor when he stands up straight. She giggled. He's silly. I forced a laugh that sounded like grinding gears. Ha ha, yeah. Very silly, honey. Just like in the story. I finished the chapter, my voice a little tight. I tucked the blankets up to her chin, the way I always do, and kissed her forehead. The scent of her shampoo, strawberries, and baby powder was the only real thing in the room. Sweet dreams, my love. You too, Daddy, she murmured, already drifting. Tell the stick man I say good night. I didn't sleep. Her words looped in my head, a chilling little nursery rhyme. He can almost touch the floor when he stands up straight. I'm not a big guy, but I'm not short either, and my closet isn't some cavernous walk-in. It's a standard sliding door affair. For something to be that tall, it'd have to be folded in half. I laid in bed, staring at the twin sliding doors of my closet, dark slits in the moonlight. I told myself it was just a kid's imagination, a new imaginary friend born from a fairy tale. But the unease was a physical thing, a weight pressing on my chest. Around 2 a.m, I couldn't take it anymore. I slipped out of bed, my feet silent on the cold hardwood. Each step toward the closet felt like wading through mud. I put my hand on the cool metal of the door handle and slid it open. The familiar scent of cedar and clean laundry washed over me. I reached in, fumbling for the pull chain. The light flickered on, flooding the space with a harsh yellow glare. Shirts hung in a neat row, shoes were piled in the corner. Nothing, just clothes and shadows. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. A shaky, pathetic sound. I was about to turn the light off when I saw it, tucked just under the lip of the baseboard, almost invisible. It wasn't a sticky note. It was a small, torn corner of a brown paper grocery bag. My hand trembled as I picked it up. Scrawled on it in what looked like black charcoal was a drawing. It was a stick figure, crude and childish. Except its arms and legs were just long, single lines, grotesquely out of proportion with its small, circular torso. It looked less like a man and more like an insect. A spider. My blood turned to ice water. I didn't get a bat. I didn't shout. I just stood there, in the silent, sleeping house, holding a picture drawn by someone who was supposedly in my closet. I checked every lock on every door and window 3 times. Then I went back to my room, pushed my heaviest dresser in front of the closet doors, and sat in a chair with a kitchen knife in my lap until the sun came up. The next morning, I sent Zora to her grandmother's for the day with some excuse about needing to fumigate the house. Then I started my search. I wasn't looking for a person. I knew with a certainty that defied all logic that I wouldn't find one. I was looking for proof, for more notes. I started in Zora's room, a knot of dread tightening in my gut. What if he'd been leaving things for her? I checked under her bed, in her dollhouse, behind her books. Nothing. I was about to give up when I noticed her little treasure box, a painted wooden chest where she keeps shiny rocks and old keys. I lifted the lid. Inside, nestled among the smooth stones and seashells, was a pile of brown paper scraps. Dozens of them. I spread them out on her pink rug. The first few were just drawings, all of them of the same spindly, long-limbed figure. Then came the words, jagged and uncertain, like a child just learning to write. Zora, play, dark, sing, dada. My name. My name on a piece of trash, written by something that lived in my closet and talked to my daughter. I felt a wave of nausea so strong I had to sit down on her bed. Who do you call? The police. Hello, officer. My daughter's imaginary friend is leaving her creepy fan art. They'd think I was crazy. They'd look at me, a single father with a dead-end job and tired eyes, and they'd take her away from me. So I waited. When Zora came home that evening, I sat her down on the couch. I put the little wooden box on the cushion between us. Zora, honey, we need to talk about this. Her face fell the moment she saw the box. It wasn't annoyance, it was hurt. You looked in my treasure box. Where did these come from, Zora? You have to tell me the truth. I told you, she whispered, her bottom lip trembling. The stickman gives them to me. He slides them under the door after you turn out the light. He says he likes our stories. Leaves them where? I pressed, my voice harder than I intended. She looked at me, her eyes welling up with tears. In your closet, Daddy. Why won't you listen to me? He's just lonely. He doesn't have anyone to read to him. And then she started to cry. Not the tantrum tears of a kid who didn't get their way, but deep, heartbroken sobs. I felt like a monster. I pulled her into my arms and held her, rocking her back and forth, whispering apologies into her hair. What was I supposed to do? That night, things got weird. About an hour after I put Zora to bed, I heard a sound from her room, a soft, rhythmic giggle. I crept to her doorway and peered in. She wasn't reading. She wasn't playing. She was on her hands and knees, staring into the dark gap under her bed, smiling and whispering to something I couldn't see. Hey, kiddo, I said softly, and my voice made her jump like a startled rabbit. She scrambled to her feet, her face flushed. Hi, Daddy. I was just playing. I thought I heard you laughing. The book was funny, she said, pointing to the whisperwood on her nightstand, a lie so blatant it was painful. It's getting late, I said, trying to keep my voice even. Ready for our story. She shook her head, her eyes darting back toward the space under her bed. I don't want a story tonight. No story. But we always have a story. The stickman is going to tell me one tonight, she said, her voice small but firm. He said it's a secret one, just for me. She climbed into bed and pulled the covers up to her chin. Good night, Daddy. She smiled then, a bright, genuine smile that didn't reach her terrified eyes. I ate cold pizza alone in the living room, the silence of the house pressing in on me. I must have dozed off on the couch because I woke up with a stiff neck to the sound of scratching. A faint, dry sound. Scritch, 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 scritch. Like a fingernail being dragged across paper. It was coming from my bedroom. Every nerve in my body screamed. I grabbed the heaviest flashlight I owned and moved toward the sound. The dresser was still pushed against the closet doors, but I could hear it clearly now, coming from inside. I shoved the dresser aside. It scraped against the floor, the noise deafening in the quiet. I yanked the closet door open and aimed the flashlight beam inside. There were 3 new pieces of brown paper on the floor, lying in a neat row. Each had a single, violently scrawled word on it. Do not. Wake, my heart stopped. Wake who? Zora. It had to be Zora. I ran. I didn't even turn on the hall light. I burst into her room, my keys already in my hand, my mind screaming that we had to get out. We had to go now. The room was empty. Her bed was neatly made, The window above it was wide open, the curtain dancing in the cold night breeze. I screamed her name until my voice was raw. There was no answer. The police came. They filed a report. They asked questions I couldn't answer. Weeks bled into months. I am a ghost in my own house, a hollowed-out shell of a man. I've sat in my car with the engine running more times than I can count, just trying to find the courage to follow her wherever she went. The only thing that stops me is this. A few nights ago, I heard the scratching again. Softer this time, more careful. I didn't run. I just walked to the closet and opened the door. There was one piece of paper on the floor. It was a page torn from her favourite colouring book, the one with the princesses and castles. On it, drawn in her familiar waxy purple crayon, was a picture. It showed two figures holding hands. One was a little girl with a crooked smile and the triangle dress. The other was just a tall, thin scribble of a man with arms that hung down past his knees. Underneath the drawing, in Zora's messy 7-year-old handwriting, were 5 words. "Don't be sad, Daddy, we are playing."